Welcome to the Mind to Market video series. I'm your host, Steve Traben. Joining me today are Mark Gustafson, manager of the Mind to Market Investment Fund, and Dan Watkins, partner with Lee and Hayes. Welcome, gentlemen. Before we get started with you, let me kind of orient our entrepreneurs as to where we are in the Mind to Market program. First of all, as a reminder, this is a program for scalable and viable ideas to help you commercialize and launch them into successful ventures. As you've been watching the videos in the process, you've gone through an intake process with Startup Spokane. You've gone through a rapid commercialization process with our entrepreneur in residence. And this is the point in the process where you have the opportunity to present your idea to the Mind to Market Investment Fund. So Mark, take a few minutes and talk to our entrepreneurs about the Mind to Market Fund itself.
You bet. Thanks, Steve. The Mind to Market Fund is very much early stage fund in the cycle of investment in a typical stage where you go from what you'll hear is a seed round all the way through like a Series D. We're going even earlier than seed, pre-angel in fact, where we feel the regional ecosystem has a lack of what we call friends and family funding. And this fund is attempting to replace that. And what do I mean by friends and family? It's a scenario where you don't have customers yet, you don't have revenue. Typically in an ecosystem like Seattle or in Silicon Valley, we'll have that friends and family money from somebody that maybe just retired from Microsoft or somebody that's done an IPO and they want to reinvest some of that back into their investment community. And we just don't have that flywheel yet. We're trying to get that going, and that's what Mind to Market attempts to do.
Yeah, that's great. And I think for our viewers, I'd love to show them the funding cycle so that they can see that this is, again, really early stage. This is earliest stage funding. And Mark, take a couple of minutes and talk about what we expect those entrepreneurs to do with that funding.
Yeah, you bet. It's very much getting to their next stage, which is typically going to be an early prototype, building out their MVP, minimal viable product, really just kind of proving out their most riskiest assumption. It's not necessarily about getting to profitability or getting to an IPO. It's really getting to the next stage of funding, and that's what this small stage is about. That could be 3 months, Steve.
Right. And just really important for them to have this kind of capital to get traction. And this money it comes with strings attached, right? So let's talk a little bit about the expectations, what an entrepreneur can expect in terms of what they might have to do in exchange for this money. Mark, do you want to start with that? And then we'll have Dan talk in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you bet. We'll expect them to live in the Startup Spokane headquarters in terms of just having that experience. We'll surround them with mentors and entrepreneurs and give them an environment to be successful. It's so easy to make a wrong decision and burn through that early capital. We want to avoid some of those mistakes with these companies.
Right. And Dan, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the exchange, if you will, equity for capital. And let's talk about how Mind to Market Investment Fund is set up with an arrangement called a simple agreement for future equity.
Right. Yeah. So the Mind to Market Fund invests in exchange for a SAFE. And what a SAFE is exactly that, a simple agreement for future equity. Basically what it does is make it as easy and quick as possible to get some really early stage funding into the company. It's very startup friendly in that there is no debt, there is no note associated with this investment. Instead, all it is an agreement to piggyback on to the next round of financing. So the Mind to Market Fund might invest, 10 or 20,000, and in exchange would be able to get stock at the next round of financing, call it a Series Seed round, most likely, and would get the same type of stock as those next round of investors, except that the Mind to Market Fund would get it at a discounted rate. So the earlier money would effectively purchase more stock at that later round.
No, that's a great example, and thanks for sharing that with our entrepreneurs. The investment fund is not a guarantee. It's an opportunity to actually pitch your idea in front of these real investors who have real money to invest in your company if they think and they believe in your ability to launch and grow successfully. I hope that you'll continue to watch the other videos on Mind to Market, specifically around the operations phase, which will give you guidance around what you can expect once you have investment capital, how you're going to actually get customer traction, go-to-market strategy, and a minimum viable product. So I hope you'll view those videos as well. And for more information about the Mind to Market program, please visit startupspokane.com or email startup@greaterspokane.org. Thanks for joining us.